He was the hero they called for, the one who saved lives in the ICU, the one who brought patients back. Or so everyone thought. But what if the man racing to revive you was the one who stopped your heart in the first place? Shifts ended, patients crashed, and he was always there, first on the scene, performing miracles, basking in applause. For years, no one questioned it. No one looked closer, until it all unraveled. Germany, late 1990s. Hospitals in Oldenburg and Delmenhorst. Meet Niels Högel, a quiet nurse in the cardiac intensive care unit. Calm, confident, efficient. Colleagues called him reliable, always ready for emergencies. He seemed unshakable when patients coded. In Ward 211 at Oldenburg Hospital, he moved like he owned the floor, checking charts, adjusting IVs, smiling politely to families, in a place where second decide life or death. He was seen as the man you wanted at the bedside, but behind that steady smile, something else was happening. In 2001, doctors noticed something strange. Resuscitation rates were spiking. Patients who had been stable suddenly collapsed. When they reviewed the numbers, a chilling statistic emerged. 58% of deaths happened during Högel's shifts. Colleagues whispered. Some called it coincidence. Others weren't so sure. A meeting was called. Concerns were raised. But when the data hit the desk of hospital leadership, they looked away. No investigation. No police report. No suspension. Then came an unplanned experiment. Högel called in sick for 3 weeks. During that time, only 2 deaths occurred in the ICU. When he returned, the crashes resumed. Still, no action was taken. They chalked it up to inexplicable variation and left him in charge of patients' lives. Högel didn't kill with a scalpel or a gun. He used his medical knowledge and access. He injected antiarrhythmic drugs, medications that disrupt the heart's rhythm. Common culprits? Adrenaline, lidocaine, amiodarone, given in the wrong dose. They could cause cardiac arrest in minutes. The method was cold, calculated. He'd wait for the heart to fail, then leap into action, performing dramatic resuscitations, often succeeding. But when patients died, he still got the praise. Why? Why would anyone do this? In court years later, Högel admitted it. He did it for the thrill, the rush of adrenaline, the applause from colleagues. He liked being seen as the man who saved patients from certain death. Even when he was the one who had put them there, it was the ultimate act of control. Create the emergency, then play the hero. Oldenburg eventually decided to get rid of him. Quietly. No police. No report to the nursing board. They wrote a glowing reference letter. And he was hired again, this time at Delmenhorst Hospital. The cycle repeated. Patients who weren't critically ill began crashing without warning. Resuscitation carts were wheeled in almost daily. Empty ampoules of cardiac drugs appeared without documentation. But just like before, no one called the police. If you're stunned that a lifesaver could be a serial killer, pause and hit subscribe now. Because Medical Crime Files exposes the crimes hiding in plain sight. And this story gets even darker. June 2005, Delmenhorst Hospital. A doctor walks into a patient's room unexpectedly. He sees Högel injecting medication without orders. 2 days later, police arrive. They arrest him on suspicion of attempted murder. At first, it looked like just one case. But the deeper investigators dug, the worse it got. Authorities ordered exhumations of past patients. Bodies buried years before were brought up for forensic testing. The results were damning. Toxicology reports confirmed the presence of drugs that had never been prescribed. At first, prosecutors charged him with 6 murders. But more evidence kept surfacing. By 2015, Högel admitted to 85 murders. Later, investigators linked him to over 200 suspected victims. Some estimates reached 300. This made him the most prolific serial killer in Germany's post-war history. The question everyone asked, how did this go on for years? The answer, hospitals failed. There was no central database to flag suspicious staff. Hospitals feared lawsuits and bad publicity. Internal warnings were ignored. Some colleagues quietly called him Resuscitation Rambo. But no one filed formal complaints. When deaths happened, they were labeled complications. And Högel was simply moved along. To kill again, the trial was chilling. Families sat in court hearing details of how their loved ones were killed. They learned that some patients could have lived if Högel hadn't intervened. Högel showed little emotion. At times, he even smiled. When asked why, he repeated the same story. He wanted to be seen as a hero. In 2015, he was sentenced to life in prison without parole. In 2019, the sentence was confirmed. He will never walk free. Germany was shaken. This wasn't just one killer. It was a systemic failure. Laws changed. Hospitals began conducting internal death audits. Drug administration tracking improved. Whistleblower protections were strengthened. But for hundreds of families, the reforms came too late. Because their loved ones had died in the arms of man they thought was saving them. If this story made your blood run cold, share it. Hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next case. Because the next one may be even worse. You're watching Medical Crime Files. Trust betrayed.